Hi, folks. This is Dan at Dan's Retirement Journey. We're Philippines bound. I think I'll wait here for a couple of seconds and we'll see if we get the attention of anyone on this live stream. So anyway, what I want to talk about today is I got some interesting comments, about concerning, the last live stream about should we be moving to the Philippines if we're sick, if we have health issues. And yes, it's a serious question for which I think that only you can answer. So I thought, well, this would be a good idea to come on and discuss this a little bit. Because I have some ideas about that. I think I was sort of setting it up in the last live stream when I was talking about things like how long Filipinos live versus how long people who are from the United States live as far as life expectancy. And I had commented that I thought that one of those reasons may be related to, might be related to access to health care. But some of you brought up some other interesting points too, and that was that what could be also related to the food that you eat and those types of things, but I don't think it could be related to exercise, do you? Because exercise is an interesting thing because Filipinos they're very hard working people. So they're out there constantly exercising and burning calories every day. And they work way more than I would say than the average office worker here in the United States. Did I say that correctly? Since I am an office worker, that's about the only thing that I can actually compare it to, and pretty much I just sit there and listen to my arteries harden while I'm banging away on the computer keys in my cubicle at work. So in any event, going to the gym is a good thing if you're an American, certainly wanting to stay in shape. If you're working in an office like I do, of course, I haven't been into the gym in years. As a matter of fact, I don't even believe I've walked around the block more than a couple of times in the last year or so. So anyway, is it a good idea to head over to the Philippines if you're suffering from something like diabetes? So couple of the other vloggers who have talked about this on their YouTube channels have suggested that there's certain ailments or chronic illnesses that you probably are okay with in traveling to the Philippines, just so long as you have your ducks in a row as far as knowing that you have to immediately access medical care once you get there so you can get lined up with a physician that you trust. And one of those diseases that was mentioned was diabetes. And I think diabetes was mentioned because metformin is cheap. So the drug that treats diabetes is relatively inexpensive in the Philippines. And quite frankly, folks don't really know why. Metformin, I think it is. Metformin is the way you pronounce that. So metformin is inexpensive. And so depending on the type of diabetes that you have, you're probably in good shape if you have to shell out some money for the drug metformin if you have diabetes. And so there's certain health issues, of course, that you probably would not want to go to the Philippines and move there if you needed treatment for them. and where you'd probably be better off staying put here in the United States if you are suffering from those health issues, and probably wouldn't be a good idea to head that way towards the Philippines in the event that you're suffering from things like, serious cancers and the like. One of our blogger community had to recently head back to the United States for treatment on, I think he's suffering from skin cancer, it's suspected skin cancer. And so he found it to be beneficial. He didn't really explain why he felt it was beneficial for him to head back to the United States for treatment, but I full well suspect that it has to do with how he was going to pay for it. So one of the things that I dealt with this week, and I'm not sure that most people know this, but when you're ready to turn age 65, you can apply, or it's a good idea to apply for Medicare within 90 days of turning 65. But what I found out is actually 90 days from it's the first day of your birthday month. So let's say you have, in my case, your birthday falls in April, then I was able to apply on January 1st because April 1st, or April Fool's Day, that's kind of funny, huh? Would be my birthday month, the first day of my birthday month. So I went it's kind of confusing, when going online trying to figure out where all this stuff is that you have to apply for. I found it some people would find it easier to go down to the Social Security office and apply in person using the pencil and paper forms. And I like to challenge myself by going, and going to the online site and seeing if I could figure it out. Now, I'm not totally inept with using a computer because I use one all day at work. I mean, if you think about it, my functions are basically the same at work. And when you come in front of your desktop at home or your laptop, it can be challenging if you've never been in a setting like a StreamYard before. You don't know exactly how the whole thing works. You have to figure it out, watch tutorials. But yet you can get a youngster, that will just pop open any program and they'll just start banging away on the computer keys, almost as though they have some kind of high-tech gene, in their body. They just know naturally what they have to do on the computer. And that's not me. So last time, just something as simple as copying and pasting my link on StreamYard in this format was a challenge for me. I had to think about how you go about that. And so you can see I copied and pasted my link up there now. It should be showing somewhere. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let me see if it comes up. Oh, okay, yeah. So that seemed to work. And then also something as simple as clicking and putting up case comments that appear, and you want to show them on screen. They're not that simple. You got to actually go watch the tutorials, or I do, but for some youngsters, it seems to come naturally to them. All right, so as I was saying, so you can apply for Medicare 3 months prior to the first month of your birthday month. And so since my birthday falls in April, then I was able to go into Medicare and apply. And here's the dilemma. Partly this came up last time on the last stream that we had, was we were talking about whether to get Part B, because Part B you have to pay a premium payment for, and I believe it goes up to something like $170.10, which if you're on a limited budget, $170.10 can go a long way in the Philippines if that's where you're planning on living. So basically, hey, let me say hello to Sammy. Sammy, hey, thanks for joining us. I really, really appreciate your support. I always do, and I try and join your stream as often as I possibly can. And I think it's late at night there, huh? Shouldn't you be sleeping? No, no. We're us YouTubers, we're on YouTube 24/7. That I know for sure. Anyway, I want to thank you for being here. Definitely. What I was talking about is, so we have a premium payment here. When we turn 65, we can get health insurance. That health insurance is Part B of the Medicare program, and you need that in order to get the benefit of getting the 80/20 plan. So it pays for hospitalization. Hospitalization, I think, is A. Doctor visits are B, and then you're going to pay the co-payments that are involved with that. No, I love your work, Sammy. I love your work. Short or long videos, man. I'm a fan. So your perspective on things is very refreshing. Thanks for joining my channel. I truly appreciate it. Oh, you're waiting for someone to call you because they need your help about YouTube. Hey, I'll tell you, by watching your channel and other people's channel, I have learned a lot about what I should be doing. And then, in fact, I think it was watching yours and a few other friends' channels that I realized I should be doing live streams in order to build, not only my watch hours but also my subscription base. So I think we blew up last time. I mean, we got a lot of subscribers from the live stream, and some of the other videos I posted about Odette shot up by quite a bit. I think I'm somewhere around 375, and so I hope I hit that 1,000 subscription mark sometime soon. But yes, I definitely appreciate you, and hey, get some of you're very influential. If you can help me out, get some subs on there. Oh yeah, I truly would appreciate it. Definitely. Other YouTubers in Bye Bye Lady there and surrounding area have been helping me out, and I truly appreciate it. You know who you are, you guys. I can't think of all your names, but you definitely know who you are. So, okay, so the dilemma is, let's see, the dilemma about Medicare simply is that if you don't apply in the first 6 months of which you turn 65, then there's a penalty for every year that you don't apply for it. And so it goes up next year, the year after, and it's a hefty penalty. And the penalty never goes away once you subscribe to it. See, that's what the problem is. It doesn't go away once you subscribe. The penalty it's always going to be there. So if you don't apply for Part B, that $170.10 per month that they're taking out of your Social Security check can actually equate to a whole bunch of money down the road. And so you're taking the opportunity to ensure that you have it in place in the event that you have to return back to the United States for medical treatment for any reason. And so now where I work, once I retire, by the way, for the year that I was born, age 65 is not, that's not the age in which I reach my full retirement rate. I have to actually be 67. But for some reason it's been drilled in my head, 65, 65, 65. I think I mentioned that on the last video. And so 65 is the number for me. Anyway, I'm ready to go. I have 22 years working for this same organization, coming up on January 18th. 22 years is a good run, I mean, if I wanted to work beyond age 65, I could find something else to do. I could work the drive-through window at McDonald's. I with those jobs. Point is, as 10 years apart. Happened after your timed out. I was attention. So it's okay if you want to go do something else. If you want to continue working for, I'm a fan of that. A lot of people live their and they and Medicare, as I pointed out, if you don't apply for it now, then you get penalized later. But Medicare is an 80-20 plan. The government pays 80%, and then you're responsible for the other 20%. So I have another decision that I have to make coming up, and that is that in order to get a senior advantage plan, in order to get the senior advantage plan. Hi, Lynn, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the stream. Then you have to have Part B in place also. So now my company, now the senior advantage plan covers the rest of that 20%, which means that, the opportunity is that you'll end up coming out okay with not having to pay too many out-of-pocket expenses. Well, as you know, this is all great if you're going to continue living in the United States. It's fantastic. You're going to pay your $2,000 a month house rent. You're going to pay your Medicare Part A and B, and you're going to have your senior advantage, and then no money in your pocket. See, so this is the dilemma. The dilemma is that, so let's suppose that I have enough money to pay these things. Do I keep them going? Do I keep them going as insurance against the possibility that I may have to return back to the United States for medical treatment? And can I not find medical treatment in the Philippines or other places in Southeast Asia that is equally good, where me having to invest some money in those premium payments that I know I won't be using for the foreseeable future, you probably could save those premium payments up and then self-insure. And so that's the dilemma. And so I got by one decision-making part of it, and I made the decision to go ahead and pay the Part B, so I at least have that coverage in place in case something goes sideways or upside down. So that's the reason for coming on and sharing that with you. So if I didn't sign up for it, then next year it goes up. If I don't sign up for it, that is within the next 6 months, then the next time I decide, I'm going back to the States and I need Part B, they penalize you, and that penalty is stiff, and it goes up after the first 6 months, keeps going up every single year until basically you're broke. And so that's what we're talking about here. So I think I was setting things up in the last video. I was sharing with you that I'm kind of not too concerned about the medical part of it. I think maybe a couple of you were feeling it, but I certainly wouldn't. And I do have a few health issues, but I don't think they're health issues that are going to keep me from moving to the Philippines, they're not serious. Yeah. So I'm borderline diabetic and these types of things. And I don't need to take the medication at this point. I've been doing my best right now to lose weight and try to get into Philippine travel shape, so that I can be in good shape and in good health when I travel to the Philippines. All these things are, important to me, and I'm not taking them lightly. I've lost 10 pounds, by the way. How have I done it? I've done it through eating one meal a day. I don't know if most of you are aware of this, but a lot of cultures, hey, welcome back, Sammy. They, quite frankly, they only eat one meal a day, and that's because that's all that's available to them. And here in the United States and other Western cultures, we're very fortunate in that we have plenty of food at the moment, plenty of food to eat and plenty of food to give away. But will that last forever? That's the question. We have a lot of controversies surrounding the growing of food here in the United States, as some of you may know. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit worried about that too in the Philippines, because for most of you that are here today, you might know that industrial farming is encroaching in it's making its way to the Philippines, and processed foods is making its way to the Philippines. I think that you're starting to see a lot of that. And I'm a fresh food kind of guy. I think there's enough. I don't think this is going to happen overnight in the Philippines, because processed food is also very expensive, and so a lot of people can't afford to go into SNR or Metromart or some of the markets there and buy things like processed meats and those types of things. One of the things I plan on doing is not eating that crap. As a matter of fact, since I have been visiting the Philippines since 2006, I made sometimes 2 and 3 trips a year. I'd have to say that I've become accustomed to eating the fresh food, but I also know my body very well. And it's no lie that, as soon as I cross over into Philippine airspace, I start losing weight. And I think other expats, other people who have moved there have experienced this also. Think that you've experienced the same thing, that once you start eating the food that's healthy or fresher and not processed, then all of a sudden you start losing weight. Your body starts to recognize it as being real food, and not some of the processed crap that we get here in the United States and in other Western countries. But it wouldn't be not all other Western countries process foods the way the United States does. That's a point that needs to be made. You have food processors in other countries that don't take the nutrients out of the food. In fact, they do everything they can in order to make sure that nutrients are retained in the food. And same here in the United States, but they've gotten to the habit of doing food additives also in the United States, where they process the food because it's convenient, and then they throw back the stuff that they took out in the processing process. Well, this all comes into play when we're talking about your health. This is all important stuff, especially when it comes to losing weight. So I started eating Filipino food. And of course, when you're in the Philippines, you're in the habit of walking everywhere. So you're not necessarily taking a car. As a matter of fact, I can't stand driving, not even in the United States, let alone a foreign country where it's easy for an expat to get into trouble driving. So no, I'm looking forward to the move because, I know that I'm going to be able to lose weight very, very quickly moving to the Philippines. But the thing is that, like I said, things do bother me about how rice is grown differently. in the Philippines, if you're Filipino, you know you're importing the majority of your rice. But the best rice to eat is the rice that's grown there. And so, but I noticed that going to the market, the public market, and the central markets, that people are always gravitating towards that bleached rice. You know, that white rice, the one that has uh, the better flavor and the better aroma, and it feels good when you're holding the rice in your hand. You know, and it makes a nice rice, and it's lovely to eat. But the problem is some of that stuff is processed. It's imported and it's processed. And I would rather prefer to eat the local rice for a number of different reasons. One, because it's healthier, and two, it supports the local farmer. You know, the person that's trying to eke out a living or make a living by growing that rice. And so I prefer to eat the local food. And so that's my intent, is to eat the local food when I get there, because I know that it's going to be better for me. It's going to be fresher. If I stopped eating, like I said, 3 meals a day, which has been ingrained in my head by, well, quite frankly, society, U.S. society, and my mom. Hi, mom. My mom is probably watching. And so, um, uh, and then once the advertisers realize that they can sell more food if they push this narrative that you need to eat three meals per day in order to remain healthy and strong, you know, drink your milk and those types of things, then they started pushing that. They started pushing that agenda, you know, to get people to eat more food. And so what do we end up having is we have, you know, an epidemic of heavy people, heavier than when I was growing up as a kid, I could tell you that. Heavier people, I should say, you know. And then we also have you know, an epidemic of diabetes in this country, along with a whole bunch of other mean and nasty stuff like heart disease and you know, cancer and other things. Well, the whole thing is that I wanted to talk about was you can have those treated in the Philippines. And so here, I said that I was going through a dilemma, and I am. And the reason why I have this dilemma about health insurance is because of the way society, uh, you know, has driven us, and the insurance companies here have driven us to believe that we need this insurance in place so we can get health care, access to health care when we need it. And then it dawned on me, you know what it's really about, I think, is that people want to live forever, and they don't. They don't. But we've been sold this idea that people want to, you know, that we can help you to live forever. Let's see, no, I'm in Sacramento. Oh yeah, I meant to explain that, Sammy. I meant to explain this. Yeah. Okay, so I got my brother-in-laws in the Philippines and others that feed me video from Bye Bye City Leyte. I knew that in order to get a channel going, I wanted to start off as early as possible. Once I get over to the Philippines, of course, I'll be doing a lot of the videos myself. But right now, Coach Mavs David and Jel and a few other of my relatives and friends, they feed me video of what's going on in Bye Bye City Leyte and around there, Ormoc and around there. And then I edit it and try and make a story out of the videos. So right now I'm here in Sacramento, California. So where we're at is we got retirement coming really quickly, and then I have a lease on this apartment, a 1-year lease, and so I have to wait until this lease expires, and then Minnie and I, my wife, will be heading out for Bye Bye City Leyte. But we may be making a couple of pit stops along the way because, I mean, we are retired, and so my wife wants to see a couple of other places before we head over to Bye Bye. And so that's the plan for right now. Yeah, it did seem very, very much like we were there. We were actually there. And I started thinking about it, especially after you mentioned it and pointed out to me that there's some people who think that we're actually there now, and we're not. And so I think it's important um, I'll change it in the description section to make sure people know that we're not physically there, but that Coach Mavs, David, and others are helping establish the channel by sending video this way. And then I do my best to create the story of what's going on currently in Bye Bye City and the surrounding areas. Oh yeah, sure. I meant to do it. No, Sammy, listen. I meant to do it. I truly appreciate that that you brought it up, because I think about a lot of stuff and then I simply forget to talk about it because I start going off on other stuff. It's hard for me to stay focused, sometimes. And my mind has a million ideas in it, and I want to share all of them all at the same time. Oh, 3-in-1 coffee, by the way. All right. So what I wanted to say is, for those of you that are doubters, I don't think there's anybody here that doubts this. You know that how expensive for Filipinos it is to access medical care there in the Philippines. And so they've come up with alternative medicine that they rely upon in order to protect themselves and to maintain their health in the Philippines. And the things that I've seen so far about natural medicine make a lot of sense to me. There actually is science behind them. But hey, I'm not a science guy. I'm not a science guy, and so I'm not going to come to you and say, oh, this is based on some study someplace, and this is why it works. I'm talking about things like for treating headaches, for treating arthritis, for doing away with upset stomachs. I'm talking about the things that for years and years and years, if not hundreds of years, people in the Philippines have figured out how to use natural cures for certain ailments. Okay. And that's because healthcare is expensive there, and it may not. Oh, are you a coffee lover? Oh, that's great. That's great. I love coffee. But hey, somebody said in one of my comments, they had said that in the comment section, oh, you're not going to be one of the ones hanging out at the Dunkin' Donuts all day sipping coffee, and you're not going to become a coffee addict. Well, I have to be honest and transparent here. I already am a coffee addict. I already am addicted to caffeine. And it just so happens I love the Nescafe 3-in-1, so. Yes, is it better to have randomized content? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, mine is. I don't know. I don't know if they want you to be pointed or not, specific or not, but you've seen my channel, Sammy. I'm all over the place with different stuff, And of course, this is the whole thing that is the big that everybody talks about on YouTube is to dial in. And so I want to share something with you, though. So my content right now is pretty much all over the place. It started out as showing the building of the house and the buying the land and all that other stuff. Well, actually, it started out in Sacramento, and I started showing some different things of interest. But here's the thing about it is that what I notice is I get more hits when I start talking about things like how inexpensive it is to live in the Philippines. And when I started looking at other vloggers, when I started looking at other YouTubers, they also get a lot of hits when they start talking about how inexpensive it is to live there. And so I'm just thinking that maybe, what this is when you're talking about YouTube channels and you're trying to sell a dream. You're selling people want to live life through your eyes. And so and they want factual information, but they also want to know that there's a place to go out there that won't cost them a fortune, that have nice beaches, good food to eat, inexpensive housing. Here's the thing that I worry about, though, Sammy. I'm gonna tell you about this. The more vloggers that we have on YouTube, I always have thought is a very, very good thing. That are showing them the way that the rest of the world lives. Because what it does is it makes the world smaller for everybody. I mean, look at us having a conversation. We're 7,000 miles away, and yet I feel like, oh, you're a friend of mine, and I have, because you are, and I have lots of friends that are all over the world, and it's interesting, but there's some pitfalls or dangers that come along with that. I think you'll agree. Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love the music channel. I'm always looking at the sunsets and listening to the music while trying to relax, prepare myself for meditation or going to sleep. So I think those types of channels, they're doing very, very well. They're doing very, very well. So you won't get any better sunset in the entire world than the ones that I've seen in parts of the Philippines. Like, for example, Palawan or Bye Ormoc has beautiful sunsets. Places like, even in Manila, quite frankly, one of the most beautiful sunsets that I ever saw was off Manila Bay, off the Baywalk at Manila Bay. But is what it is? Yes, it is. It is what it is. Thing is, the pitfalls are, I should say, or one of them would be that, as people start moving in to the Philippines, I think maybe there are 500,000 expats living in the Philippines. I'm not sure, but oh my gosh, see, that is the YouTube community right there. And that's what it's for, quite frankly. That is what it's for. Okay, so Sammy, listen, since you brought it up, and I was going to talk about it in a future video, but I'll talk about it briefly now. It has changed the global economy. Whether people believe it or not, social media has changed the global economy. And the more that you adapt to that economy, the better off your life is going to be. So it's changing here in the United States also. The people are seeing it everywhere. Very high-paying jobs that used to require engineers and IT people, they're all going away. And the reason why they're going away is because you can hire somebody for less money and they could be working remotely across the world. And so what you're seeing in the United States, you're seeing wages start to decline. And so people are figuring out that they can make a living by going on into the global economy. Platforms such as YouTube and Instagram and Patreon and some of the others. And I would imagine that you're going to see a huge explosion of those formats, and most of us will be making income off of those platforms. We'll be basically supporting one another, which is what I try to do. I try to support as many YouTubers as I possibly can, by sending out blessings, that sort of thing. So getting back to the medical stuff. Getting back to the medical stuff. Okay, so a lot of people, they're going to miss the opportunity. What's up, Billy, my brother from a different mother. So thing about the Philippines that expats and everybody need to realize is that you can get great medical care there in some of the hospitals that are scattered around the Philippines, and even in some of the provinces, because a lot of teaching hospitals are starting to pop up. Because quite frankly, when they build an institution, they got to get a good deal on real estate too. They look around for property where it makes sense, where it's close to a major city, and then they put up a hospital. It's a teaching hospital, and it benefits everybody. It benefits the local population and it also, as well as the expats that are in the community. And what's a great thing is that Filipino people are so welcoming of us expats in their communities. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful that the Filipinos have been so accepting of us being there. For example, okay, so you have Doctors University Hospital, which is within, so I guess now you can't take I guess they don't have the overnight ferry anymore going into Bye-Bye. I hope they start that again soon, because I was enjoying going into Cebu, by using that ferry. Let's see what's going on here. I got to pop up here, trying to get rid of it so that I can see what's going on. Uh-oh. Yeah, okay. So you got Cebu Doctors University Hospital. Hey, do you remember, if you guys watch Dustin Backpacks, right? Didn't he had a pretty serious surgery at one of the hospitals there in Cebu. Now, would you trust your life with that type of a surgery where they had to, I don't think it was I think that he made the decision, it had something to do with correcting a rupture back here, and they did a very complicated surgery there, and he looks like he's doing great. You got Makati Medical Center that's in Makati, of course. That's kind of like pretty well known for everybody in Southeast Asia. Makati Medical Center, as far as its ability to deliver the best private medical care that is available anywhere in Southeast Asia. You have Changhua Hospital in Cebu. Everyone knows of St. Luke's in Manila, especially if you're married to a Filipina, because we had to go there to St. Luke's in order to get all that medical testing done before my wife was allowed to immigrate to the United States. She had to get vaccinated, and they had to take the TB test and do all those things. And you have Medical City in Pasig City, or Pasig. Am I pronouncing that right? That's outside Manila a little bit. Okay, so Sammy says if a foreigner is showing a good attitude, Filipino do better than you expect. But if the foreigner is bad, oh, the Filipino gets worse too. Oh, I know. Listen, my advice to foreigners is don't go over there and disrespect the Filipinos or the culture, and don't be so demanding because it is a different culture. And that, Sammy, that's an excellent point. You know, the thing is that you have to adjust your attitude a little bit. A lot of expats go over there and they get frustrated with, you know, how long it takes to pay your power bill and ridiculous stuff like that, in my opinion, because you're the main reason why you shouldn't let stuff like that get to you is because you're retired, or you're over there, you're retired, you have a whole bunch of stuff you got to do. I mean, what do you got to do other than stand in line and pay your power bill? Come on, God. Come on, guys. You know, and then me, I like to go, uh, here's the thing. I'm going to try and be as careful as I can watching things that I do or say, because some of the expressions here that Americans say, they're taken in an opposite fashion, an opposite way there in the Philippines. And so my wife's been working on a list of stuff that I say. It's a do not say in the Philippines list. So I'm kind of lucky because I have a wife who she's going to help me out with these things. You know, she's going to help me. She's been helping me understand the culture a little bit better. Hey, she will be joining me on these streams, by the way. She's working right now. She's not available right now because she's at work. But you know, I'm thinking that, oh, speaking of my wife, you know, she's as anxious to get out of here and get back home as I am. You know, you can imagine, she's younger than I am by about 19 or 20 years. So you would think that she would want to stay here and make as much money as she could, you know, but she wants to get back home and enjoy her life because she realized after being here for 15 or 16 years that it's, you know, that there's craziness going on here in this here United States of America. I love this country, you know, but things are kind of going a little bit upside down. Things happening culturally that I just don't understand. I can't make a lot of sense, you know, out of them. What's a normal day like in the Philippines versus USA? Well, you're not, well, for me or for them. I mean, I kind of have a picture of what it might be like for me, but I wonder what a normal day for any Filipino involves, generally involves working, you know. I'm not sure the work looks a lot like the kind of work that we do here in the States, you know, going to the office, firing up the computer, you know, waiting for your boss to come by and dump a stack of papers in your inbox that need to be processed. I'm not sure some of them do live that kind of lifestyle, you know, if they're in the call center areas and things like that. But you know, a day for me, you know, probably would be like going out fishing and sharing my catch with, you know, the people that are there at the shore to greet me once I bring my boat in. You know, that's kind of what it looks like for me. You know, in other words, it's we look in the Philippines, they look at that as being work because they're gathering it up so they can provide food for their family. And in the United States, we kind of characterize it as being recreation. So, you know, if you think about it, it's a win-win kind of situation for me. I mean, because I get to go over there and I'll be out there in you know, out in the ocean trying to gather up some fish and then I'll be sharing it with the people on the shoreline that help me bring my boat in out of the water. I think I kind of think that that's the way that most people live there. You can, correct me if I'm wrong. And then I had talked about, somebody said, "Oh, Dan, your house is way in the jungle in the countryside." And I was laughing at that because it actually has been subdivided. That lot where the lots where the house is that Minnie and I built is actually in a subdivision, not a subdivision, not a huge subdivision, but they're subdivided 200-meter lots. Okay, so if you know what 200 meters is, that's not. I think most Filipinos they have a larger land than that. They have larger land than 200 square meters is. It's okay. It's an okay size lot, but my lot was bigger here in Sacramento before I sold the house. The lot was quite a bit bigger, and so that's a sort of type of environment it is. And so the jungle thing or a rural area caught my attention because one might think that the entire Philippines is a rural area, and to a certain degree that's true. But they tend to build into the environment, which is something else that's different. Yeah, you have tract homes and subdivisions that look exactly like they do here in the West, and they're set up to attract foreigners to go in there and buy houses because they know that, oh, we have to give them something that they're familiar with that looks like what they're used to, and so they end up building tract homes on lots that are 200 square meters. So anyway, and we used up about every meter of that 200 square meters. We only have a little bit of a front yard, and I don't know if you guys have watched the videos, but they're working on the security gate, and now we have to halt the work on it because the construction costs have gone skyrocket. People are actually they're getting into arguments, all kinds of stuff over the materials. And so my brother-in-law, who's been managing the project there in the Philippines, said, "Oh, Dan, we better wait. We better wait until the construction costs go back down before we carry on with finishing it." And I think that's a great idea. Jell, my brother-in-law, a lot of you know him. He works at the birthing clinic. So a lot of you know Jell, my brother-in-law, because he works at the medical clinic, the birthing center. And I trust him, I trust him a lot. Yeah, see, that's a normal day here is wake up, work, get off work, go to the gym and watch TV, sleep, repeat tomorrow. Yeah, because we're enslaved to, paying the rent on the house or the mortgage and paying all the energy costs and gas for the car and the car payment and insurance and all this other crap. I mean, so anyway, the house is only, as Sammy's pointing out about where he's located. Let me see if I can show his comment. Yeah, he's only 30 steps from the water. You see, and so our house, we're more like 10 minutes to downtown Bye Leyte. What's the name of the barangay there? Camdatum. I always mispronounce the name. It's a difficult one for Westerners to pronounce. But hey, also I've learned that I'm telling you, if you're a YouTuber and you're living in Bye City, there's a very good chance that we're relatives. I just wanted to point that out also. They're going to make the connection between my wife and her cousin or her second cousin or niece or nephew or mom or, in other words, the families there don't move around, a whole lot. They don't travel much out of their barangay, out of their province. And so, yeah. See, let's see what Sammy looks like. He's making always very important points. Hmm. Right. It's much the same, but it's a different kind of work, you know. But here's something that's different. Sammy, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, Bill, I think Billy's made an excellent point. You made an excellent point, but tell me if I'm wrong. The quality of the social interaction between Filipinos and Westerners or Americans, in particular, it's way different. We don't socialize like that. And so family is number one in the Philippines. Family connections are number one. And so that means in the Philippines, there are a lot of family gatherings and a lot of family oriented events going on there. Even in Bye Bye City Leyte, when I've been there, lots of celebrations, lots of making fun, lots of enjoyment of life. And this may speak to the reason why there's always a smile on a Filipino's face. There's always a great big smile, an enjoyment of life, you know. And the cultural differences, in my opinion, they have to do with the difference between a culture of fear, which is the American culture, and that was it. That was the point I was trying to make with the medical care. It's really the fear of dying, and as we all know, everybody dies. So if you have a fear of dying, you're not going any place except you're going to sit in your easy chair watching YouTube videos day and night, relaxing with your beer or your cup of coffee. You're not going anywhere, right? Because you have this fear of dying. Move from one location, my camera did. I'm not sure what happened. All right. So thing is, in the Philippines, the culture is a culture of hope. So if you've been there as a foreigner, you know this. They live in a culture of hope. There's always hope for the family and future and love of life. And that's not always true for everybody that lives here in America. In fact, I would share with you that I think that that most people in America are fearful. And so they make those decisions that are based on the fear factor. That's why that show was so popular on TV. People want to see the fear factor. They want, because they understand that and they live their life by that, the rule of fear. You know, I'm real serious about how I believe in that. Only if you travel around a little bit or you live in a different culture like Southeast Asia do you understand the differences between the way the cultures grew up and how big of a difference it is where you have one over here that believes and that is a hopeful and so they always have a future versus the ones over here that live in the culture of fear that never have a future because it's fearful. And I don't think people want to hear that. I don't think so. I don't think people want to acknowledge that here in the States. I will probably get hate mail for saying that. Yeah. I prefer to help my family first before others. I think a lot of my family than myself. And but that's quite different, my friend. See, that's what I'm talking about. We're centric, we're self-centered in this culture. You know, we're self-centered. It's a me culture environment here in the States. We think about mostly ourselves first, our family later. And so, but here's the thing: this is why expats, they go over there and they know that one of the best ways to get along in the Philippines is to make sure that you embrace your family in the Philippines, your family and your friends, because quite frankly, your friends in the Philippines become your family over time, you know, because they start recognizing the kindness of heart. They start seeing that you have a good heart, and then they start accepting you as being a member of their own family. Yeah, saying here is makes sense. It makes all the sense to me. Oh, you see that? Yes, I understand that. Uh-huh. Yes. Well, you know what? You have friends all over the world, Sammy. Yeah, you have friends all over the world. And so, you know, I mean, that's how you do it. And so, you know, love keeps us going, you know. Yes, it does. And it may be the answer to love, may be the answer, and the spreading of it might be the answer to, um, solving a lot of dilemmas when you factor it in. Um, yes, a high. That's right. That's right. At first, you may not have understood it until you've had contact with a few folks, and then you keep hearing them say the same things over and over again. And so I think that one of the reasons why expatriates are looking for, I mean, that Americans are looking for other places to live around the world is because they need a break, you know. Yeah, love does keep us alive. They need a break from all the pressure of Western life, and they find it in Southeast Asia. They've been able to find it in places like Thailand and Vietnam and the Philippines and other places in Southeast Asia. I wouldn't have discovered it had a friend of mine, David, said, "Hey Dan, you need to go with us on a field trip overseas. Once you go there, you're going to have a totally different perspective on life." And he was absolutely right. As soon as I got there, I just couldn't believe that. Um, I couldn't believe that people live like that. That there was a whole new world out there, uh, where I can explore, that has this culture of hope that plays a lot better than this culture of fear that they have going on in the West. Or I'm saying it as though it's factual, but I'm just sharing my opinion about how I see the world. I see the world that way. And so of course you're going to want to, if you have an opportunity to, it's not escaping, the environment, it's exposing yourself to a different environment. That's all it is. I may have said, oh, I can't, or I've heard other people say, oh, I can't hardly wait until, you know, to move over to the Philippines so that I can escape some of the craziness that's going on in the world. But the truth of the matter is, I may be able to achieve that simply by retiring. Not having to go in every day to the office and punch the time clock. I don't know if you know what that is. It's kind of like when you work in a factory, and you show up to work and they give you this card, right? And there's a clock on the wall, and you have to put the card down this mechanical machine and in order to punch your time. So they know exactly what time you arrived at work, and they know exactly what time you leave. And so they don't have to pay you for one penny more than the time you arrive and the time you leave. After a while, being treated like that, it gets to you, it gets to you. Oh, you start thinking, speaking of love, you start thinking, oh, my employer has no love for me. you know, they have no love for me, not if they're not if they're watching every minute of from the time I come into work to the time I leave. If they weren't paying me a salary to be there, then I would think that they were enslaving me, basically. I would think that I was becoming a slave to my own environment there. I mean, I already feel like I'm a slave when they put me in that little office cubicle. I don't know, Sam, if you've ever seen it. It's like being in a cardboard box, and in front of you is a computer screen, and they just keep piling on junk, saying, "Here, do this, do that, do this work, do that work," and they're watching their watch to see what time you get up from the chair and leave for work. But it's worse than that now, Sammy. It's worse than that. Now they want to put web cameras on every computer screen to see what you're doing during the day. It's not enough that they control you by watching your activity on the use of the computer. It's now they want to put a web camera on your computer so that they can see what you're doing. See if you're goofing off or doing what I do during most of the day, which is sip this cup of coffee. They want to see how many times I get up off of my computer to go to the bathroom. So I'm not going to miss. It's not quite that bad. It is, I know, for some people. I know it's that bad. It isn't for me personally, but it's a good time for me to retire, because, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like what's coming. I can sort of see what's coming, that sort of control. Dodger Blue, wish I were you. It's time to hang it up. There have been many changes in 30 plus years. I agree. Yeah, the working world has changed. I don't know what you do for a living. I'm an office worker. I work in governmental services. Pretty much, I've come to the conclusion that government services is about the same all over the world, even if I'm in the Philippines or not. Yeah. You're going to go into an office cubicle and you're going to log into your computer and you're going to be issued work to do, But anyway, what kind of work? Are you doing outdoor work, Dodger Blue? I hope you are. I hope you're out there pounding nails, fixing somebody's electrical and plumbing. I can't remember if you told me if you're working for local government or not, or if you're doing some other kind of work. But I'm sure that it would have been a lot more enjoyable for me had I been out doing outdoor work. But my dad, he was a telephone linesman, and so telephone linesmen they don't have anymore. They don't use telephone lines. Hey, Dr. Blue, by the way, this is a good time to interject something. The Philippines is in a really great shape for industrializing very quickly. And one reason is because they don't have to worry about doing all that crap. That's old school stuff. They're launching internet satellites like crazy. And I understand even coming into Bye City Leyte are the high-tech, high-speed internet services already there putting in their equipment. I mean, the whole thing, the latest and the greatest. And so if you think about it, the Philippines is going to industrialize very, very quickly, especially in provincial places that are just, they're ripe for developing. Places like Bye City Leyte, that have They don't have to go in and lay in infrastructure, not the kind that is here in the United States. You know, one thing that does crack me up, Dodger Blue, is here. They keep using that fiber optic cable like crazy, and the reason why is because it's cheap. I remember when to lay fiber optic cable, it was very, very expensive. And now fiber optic, you could lay down fiber optic for pennies on the dollar. And so AT&T and stuff, they do that. They do it so they don't waste it, you know, so they can deliver internet service, Wi-Fi service at incredible speed, you know. But in the Philippines, they're going, if I'm not mistaken, they're going satellite to tower and tower to customer, and they're going to be using fiber for that, for going from the tower to going to the customer's house. And I know this because we have high speed in the house in Bye Bye City Leyte. Oh yeah, the body will start to pay the price for that. Yeah, in government for most of a career. That's beautiful. We probably who knows? We probably know each other on the other side. You know. Yeah, so it's time to take it easy, and so it's time to, you know, head out to greener pastures, as they say. I've been talking about how the feelings I've been feeling, you know, as I've been traveling this journey, and then realized that pretty much everybody, by talking to people, I realized that pretty much everybody I've talked to talked about the process of what they were feeling when it was time to say goodbye to coworkers and all this other stuff. You know, a lot of people go out the door. They don't even say goodbye to anybody. They just say, see you later. They make a quick exit, and you come to work on Monday morning and you go, hey, where's Dan? I haven't seen Dan. How come his cubicle is emptied out? I don't know, you know. Dan just disappeared, you know. He just we don't know. We don't know where he went, you know. Oh, and then somebody a couple of days later said, oh yeah, he put in his papers, he retired, you know. So I would imagine that you're going to be one of the lucky ones there, Dodger Blue, you know. And remember in the days where people would laugh at you when they said, oh, you know, I have a government job, and they'd look at you and give you that look like, oh, you're not a real man if you're working in governmental service. You're not a real woman, you know. Why don't you get out and do some real work, you know? And yeah, it's sort of like you know, they were the lowest paying job out there, quite frankly, for a long time. And then all of a sudden the world changed. It flipped, right? It flipped. It turned upside down. And now what do you do when you tell somebody, one of your friends, you know, that you work for, you know, you work in governmental service. You guys get treated like you're a prince and princesses. You got defined retirement benefit plan. You're making that big money per hour. There ought to be a law against that. You get the free health care or the this and the that and blah, 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 blah. See how quickly the tables turned when they came to me, you know. They said, hey, you know, you should get a job working for the phone company, you know, and climb some telephone poles and run some line and make that decent money instead of that itty bitty money that you're making in governmental service. Yeah, well, I'll never forget that as long as I live. And then all of a sudden, the world changed. The world turned topsy-turvy, and people in private industries, wages started to go south. It started to go south really quickly. And now everybody is like, or they were for a little while, knocking the doors down, trying to get a government job. You know, union jobs have gone away, and prevailing wage doesn't exist any longer, unless you're maybe still in the trades. The trades are doing okay. So a lot of damage. So they're still looking. Okay, so you're gonna have it pretty soon. You're gonna have the latest and the greatest. You're gonna be on the information superhighway soon, Sammy. I mean, it's in a blink of an eye. That's how fast internet speed is. In Bye City Leyte, for crying out loud. You wake up in the morning and you hear the roosters crowing. You hear the bullfrogs mating. And yet, when you fire up your Wi-Fi, you're going to be streaming woof, 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 all over the world, to all over the world. You're going to be broadcasting in high speed. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it. In the beginning, it probably won't be very expensive because they're going to want subscribers, right? They're going to want to entice people to join, but later on, they're going to jack that price up. I'm waiting for it. Be prepared to open your purse or your wallet. You're going to have to pay for that high-speed internet up until the time Elon Musk gets all those satellites launched up in the air. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Dodger Blue. That's what I'm talking about. A family member saying that we were stupid for working for a pension. A 401k will make you a millionaire. Ways for government, at least in my field, have fallen way behind. Well, they do. They have. But look at private industry, and how they're falling way behind. I mean, what's their favorite line? What's their favorite line in private industry? 2% raise. We'll give them a 2%. They'll be happy with that. Yeah. And then my line back is 2% won't pay the rent. How could they come to you and offer you a 2% raise when you're out there, dealing with crazy inflation and a 6% consumer price index change? I mean, we know every time we go to the gasoline pump, but in the Philippines, they're suffering. They know every time they have to take their scooter to fill it up, with fuel, they're paying the price. But now, who's stupid now for working for a pension? Who's stupid now? It ain't us. It ain't us. Because that's guaranteed money for life. And also for many. Because as you know, a certain percentage of that pension your wife will get if you're married, your spouse will get once you leave this planet and you go on your merry way. I don't know if you can see it, but every now and again my camera is glitching out or my video feed is glitching out. I'm not sure if it's because I have a loose cord here somewhere, and every time I hit it, it causes the camera feed to mess up. I am using a web broadcasting camera this time. I don't know if you guys can see the difference in it, but anyway, I can see a slight difference. I'm low light here too. You can see my shadow. Oh, wait, the other way. There you go. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to do. Yeah, rooster always in the Philippines. I hope I don't go out and make rooster soup. Yeah. No, you need the chicken. You need the chicken in the Philippines. You need that, you know. Okay, Sammy, you stay healthy, take care. We'll see you next time. So, yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we'd have to hook up and we have to talk about it. 67 more days. I'll be counting them down on my calendar for you, Dodger Blue, so you won't have to. I'm counting mine down. We're retiring almost at the same time. So you a little bit ahead of me, or no, me a little bit ahead of you, but by mere days. So we'll have to talk about all this paperwork we're having to fill out all in advance. Yeah, that'll be a fun thing to have to go through. Starting next week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, I have to go down there to the to the pension house and turn in my paperwork. But anyway, hey, thanks for joining us here, man. It's been fun. It's been fun. Let's see what else is going on here. All right, so I said something about hey, can you guys see my link in the chat? All right, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how to listen. I tried to go into Bitly and create a mini link or whatever they call it, and I didn't have any success doing that. I think I'm still very new at this. I think that maybe if I in creating the mini link, I may have made an error in one of the numbers of the letters or something like that. And so this is the longhand link to my channel. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you guys know I'm there for you. We're going to be bringing you more videos on what's going on in Bye Bye City Leyte. And I don't know if you've seen Coach Maz working out there in the gym. I like the gym videos, quite frankly. I mean, that's probably my future. I'm probably going to spend a little bit of time inside the gym and get back in shape. I don't know. I'm retired. What does retirement mean to you? Does it mean rest and relaxation, or does it mean you get more time to go and live your dreams out the way that you had imagined them by becoming He-Man? Can you picture it? Yeah, but I have to start by losing weight first, that's for sure. And I'm doing okay. I've lost 10 pounds. I'm doing that 1 meal per day. If it's good enough for the rest of the world, it's good enough for me. And also the other thing about that is it doesn't hardly make much sense, what you eat, so long as you only eat 1 meal a day. Hey, how you doing there? Oh, hey, if my eyesight weren't so crappy, I probably would have learned how to drive an 18-wheeler, But you're right about that. They put GPS on those years and years ago. Wow, you retired 6 years ago. What part of the Philippines do you live in? Do you live anywhere where I'm headed, where my wife and I are headed? but yeah, there's a lot of in 25 years of driving an 18-wheeler, you've seen a lot of change. I would imagine that one of those changes was that by the time you retired, I'm almost sure they had MDT computers in those big rigs. I'm almost sure of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they had GPS. They had very rudimentary GPS in there, right? And they were tracking your every movement. But then from what I understand, they went to MDT, right? Computer screen. And that must have made your life totally and completely miserable. Thanks so much for being a part of my channel. I truly appreciate it. I hope we get an opportunity to meet up when Minnie and I head over there to the Philippines. That would be very sweet. Thank you. We probably work for the same organization. That's what I'm thinking of, where you have to retire in March in order to get the 2% cost of living July 1st. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm in the same boat. So we got to be out of there by the end of March, and I'll be leaving a little bit earlier. If any of my earlier during the month, to get a little bit of a head start. But if any of my coworkers are watching this, then they now know, But I haven't really let them know what the exact date. But thanks so much for the congrats. I truly appreciate it. Congratulations to you as well, because there's more fun to come. There's way more fun to come. That's for sure. Now we'll have the time to do it, right? There you go. Qualcomm. Yeah, I like Leyte, and I think we may have chatted a time or two on the comments. But hey, thing about Leyte is it does get hit. It's one of the islands, along with Samar, as you probably already know, that gets its fair share of hits from typhoons during rainy season, during typhoon season. But thing is, it doesn't get wiped out the way that it got wiped out this time in Odette. I mean, when was the last time a typhoon went through and it wiped out that southern tip of Leyte? Almost never. It must be like 30 or 40 years that southern Leyte got hit that badly. And the other question is why did in Bye Bye Leyte did it just kind of like, there was damage there. There was damage, but it wasn't as devastating as what happened in the south. But we've heard of it hitting, of course, the last time that typhoon hit Tacloban and Ormoc, it wiped it out. Practically wiped those cities off the map practically. It's pretty remarkable, and I might be wrong. I look at the typhoons and I said that that it was a once in a lifetime event, but I'm not so sure because we've had two in the last 10 years or 20 years that went north of the island and then south of the island. And I don't know, but for some reason, Bye Bye has missed getting seriously injured both those times. Rio Rancho, New Mexico, 25 years. Okay. All right then. Well, then you probably have a very, very similar public pension program there. That's what I'm thinking. And congratulations again, Rudy, on that retirement. Like I said, I hope we have a chance to meet up. Oh, you were? Were you able to? Did you meet up with any of the expats that were there by chance? Did you go over to Prince Mall or the Dunkin' Donuts downtown? I think when I talked to you, I think I said something like, "Oh, they're hanging out downtown," but someone told me because they closed that during the height of the COVID, everybody transplanted themselves down to Prince Mall. Someone said they took a very wide area, or I think it's in one of my video, a very wide area, and so that they could social distance tables where people can hang out. I know, Sergio. Oh my gosh. Yes, you're right, man. The relief efforts that are going on there, all I could say is bless the people that were in those areas that were totally destroyed. But I'm so happy that the influencers have emerged and they're doing their best to provide relief, as well as other countries. AIDS programs are starting to move in the areas pretty heavily and provide relief for the locals. Yeah, it's very, very sad. I try. I'm sort of. I'll admit to you. I go on YouTube and I watch the latest videos on relief efforts, and after a while, it affects you. It affects you. Yeah, you just can't believe that there's that kind of devastation. It's hard to imagine it. Yeah, CDO, it's going to go, it's because of where they start to form. And so you'll end up getting tropical storms there. But by the time they're fully formed, they've passed by places like Mindanao, CDO, and Davao. And the reason why I know that is because I was in Davao one time when one of the big ones formed, and you could I can't remember which storm it was, and we ended up getting hit with the winds and the tropical rain, like a standard low pressure system, and then boom, it ends up slamming um, the island of Luzon. So I mean, is it true or is it not true? Luzon gets hits the most by typhoons, I think. I mean, it forms out there in the south, in the southern region, out there by out there in the South China Sea, and then it comes across. Of course, you get a lot of. I don't know if I even know what I'm talking about. You get a lot of Pacific storms too, but you get a lot that form in the South China Sea, and then they come across and they hit the island of Luzon before heading north. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's confusions over the hotels. Um, yeah, I don't know if you're in Manila. They seem to have. I'll tell you what. I get most of my information from Grandpa Vlogger. I'm gonna have to admit that to you. I mean, he's the go-to guy for information about hotel quarantines and things like that. And so I don't know if you went over to Grandpa Vlogger and you saw the video that he did on the best and the worst based on the surveys that he did over online, and it came back with the top 10 or so, or the top 2 hotels for quarantining if you have to do that. And he did a really good job. And then you have Texas Filipino, his YouTube channel, taking advantage of that information. And then we'll be following him for the next few videos to see how everything works out. So yeah, I full well understand that. We'll be going over hell or high water, when the time comes. But the wife and I started talking about making a pit stop in Thailand, and it kind of makes sense for this particular situation. I'll tell you why it does. Because we're going to be flying out of LA to head over to the Philippines. And as you probably already know, it's very expensive to get Philippine airline out of Los Angeles for a direct flight. It's going to cost some money. I mean, it's very convenient, and I love Philippine airline because I don't have to get off the plane, but it's cheaper to go Air Asia, I believe, out of Los Angeles to Bangkok. Take advantage of the 3-month visa program, and then head over from Bangkok to whatever point of entry you want. In our case, it probably will be Cebu, and then we could stay somewhere like, one of the hotels that Grandpa Vlogger recommend. Oh, okay. So they head north before hitting Mindanao. Yeah, that's what I thought. We got lots of rain and no wind at all. Yeah, the storm was probably in the developing stage. We also have 2 mountain ranges trees. Yeah, and so check this out. So then it sounds to me like you definitely know what you're talking about as far as um, the islands that are protected. But hey, we always thought Cebu was a protected island. We always thought that Cebu was. So I mean, for crying out loud, Cebu gets hit, and it looks like a nuclear bomb goes off. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and we thought that it was in the shadow of the typhoons, also, because of its geography. But yet, it didn't hold true with Odette. Yeah, I haven't figured all that stuff out, right? All I know is I don't know if it's called a spousal visa or if it's called Balikbayan visa. But the things that I'll be working on once I retire that I'll be dedicating full time to is figuring out if I need to apply for the spousal visa or if we could just show up there because my wife is a Filipino citizen, and then go with our paperwork. I've heard it both ways, but I certainly don't want to err, on how I arrive there. But so one of the reasons why going through Thailand might make sense, and my wife wants to see. My wife's been there before, but she wants to have the opportunity to see some of the places I've been. She wants to go to the northern regions of Thailand, as well as the south where the beautiful beaches are. But another reason I thought that might not be such a bad idea is because if we stage there, then the embassies the Philippine embassy is a little bit easier to access, as opposed to here in the United States where, you have to make an appointment 6 months in advance. And so it's kind of what I'm thinking about also. So, but anyway, I will figure all that stuff out in the next few months, and then I will be sharing it with everybody. Yeah, they underplayed it, and so no one went out and grabbed all their survival supplies. They didn't grab the water and food and stock up on extra food and all those other things. It caught them by surprise, definitely. And so, those are things that we'll be talking about when we get there. We'll be talking about how to prepare for typhoon season. I think it's a good idea. If you have the means anyway, a lot of people don't, but, stock up on that stuff in advance and rotate that stuff out. We're kind of taught survival skills here in the U.S., even when no crisis existed. In California, it's about earthquakes. In other parts of the country, it's about hurricanes and other disasters that tend to strike certain parts of the country, and so we have this tendency to be aware and back up, get flashlights, get food, get fresh water, and all those things that we need, in order to, just in case. I still have canned food in the cupboard, for example, from the 1960s. when they were telling everybody to build when they were sorry about that, when they were telling everybody to build bomb shelters and stuff like that. Hey, thank you, Dodger Blue. Yeah, I hated reading about the passing away of Tommy Lasorda. So I met Tommy Lasorda when I lived in Orange County, so way long time ago. I used to own a donut shop on Orangevale Avenue, and the Dodgers that used to live in that community near Esperanza. What was the name of it? Anaheim Hills, right? There was a gated community there, and Tommy Lasorda, and I think Tommy John, and a whole bunch of the Dodgers lived there, and they used to come into the donut shop all the time and say hi. They always used to give me that look, like, Dan, don't give me up, Dan, don't give me up. So Tommy Lasorda was one of them. Oh yeah, beautiful. Yes, Cebu is hot now, and so's Bye Bye Leyte. They have had intermittent brownouts, from what I understand, but internet is back up at the house, and Bye Bye, and electricity is back up, and seems like everything is moving forward with the repairs. And I'm kind of like impressed in Cebu about how they had bunches of crews moving in from it looks to me like they had a plan. That they had an organized plan of approach. That hyperinflation, and I was stating here that we're building a security. It's a house, and we had to. As Jill said, he'd be going down there to the hardware store or the hollow block factory, and people are just fighting over materials, and they're yelling and screaming about the inflated costs and those type of things. So he called me. He said, Dan, I think we gotta put it on ice for a while. I feel badly about it. I wanted to keep. I was thinking about the labor. I wanted to keep the guys working, but there's no way to do it. We just have to wait until everything calms down a little bit. Oh, there you go. The namesake. Yeah. If you ever met him, it sounds like you probably have. One, I mean, any of them, they were the nicest guys. That team that year, I can't remember what team it was. Man, I'm telling you, they were a great group of folks. They would come into the donut shop there, and I knew pretty much what their order was going to be. It was fun times for me. Yeah, there's no question about it. It's also very seismic. I didn't know that Bye Bye City sits in between how many active volcanoes? One to the north, one to the south. I mean, if I think I looked on a map and I saw that you have an active volcano to the north west as you're, I mean, the northeast as you're headed towards Tacloban, and then you have one that looked like it was due south of Bye Bye City. I don't know if it's an hour's drive or so, but you might be able to. Someone might be able to help me out and understand that where those volcanoes are and what kind of a threat they may pose. Oh yeah, yeah, much harder in Cerro Bajol, yeah, and Leon. And I know that I don't know. I had a friend that recently passed away that um, lived in Bohol. He passed away though here in Sacramento. He was able to get back here and access medical care. And yeah, whenever I love those islands. I've never been to Surigao. That's on the bucket list, but definitely Bohol. And man, what a beautiful, beautiful place. But people, yeah, when I look online, when I start looking at YouTube videos of what's happened to Bohol, it's just unimaginable. Yeah, it's just, there's so much devastation. What a beautiful island. I mean, what a beautiful island. I mean, that was on like my number one on my list of places to visit once I got there and got settled. There was nothing like hanging out. I mean, a lot of people don't like the tourist areas, but for me, there's no better enjoyment of life that I get out of it than hanging around a small independent coffee shop on Pang Lao or um, something like that, watching the world go by, or watching the divers gear up, one of the small villages by the seaside. And from what I saw, from what I've seen on YouTube on the videos, all that's destroyed. All that is destroyed. I mean, sitting there watching the boats in the harbor, and I just can't imagine. Yeah, and like I say, I followed baseball when I was down in LA, and then I guess I'm not a real fan. I guess I'm a fake fan. But anyway, I didn't know that Tommy John wasn't not in the Hall of Fame. He certainly deserves to be there, and I hope it does happen. Yeah, that volcano, that's an interesting one also because people again I guess unless you're the one living on the side of the mountain, people kind of just shrug when you start talking about, you know, the possibility that that thing could blow its stack one day. That's the thing that intrigues me. But the Philippine Islands, they're born of volcanoes, and so they're active volcanoes all over the place. I mean, look at Angeles City and Clark area. Aren't they sitting cradled between two active volcanoes? I mean, Pinatubo, and what's the other one? What's the other volcano that's sitting there? I mean, either one or both can blow their lid at any time. And there's a lot of volcanic activity going on around the world around the Ring of Fire. I mean, they're as active as they've ever been, I would imagine. So you never know when one is gonna blow its stack. So people that live in close proximity to a volcano, that's near Manila, right? I don't know. I don't know what to say. You can't exactly relocate 20 million people overnight or whatever the population of that region is. I mean, it's not like saying get up and move and there's some place for people to go. But I haven't been to that area except watching what's going on YouTube, and I like it. I like what I see there. If it weren't for I keep telling my wife we got to have a second home somewhere in the Philippines. What do you think of that idea? You know, um, because I think that you have to have. It makes sense to me. I'm a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. I want to spend like a little bit of time in the province, a little bit of time in the city, because I can get both of my fixes. You know, she's kind of. I think she's kind of coming around to that idea. Yeah, it blew a lot. Yeah, I know people lost their lives. Yeah, I think though they were warned. I think they were warned to pack up and go. I don't think it was a. It, actually, I could be mistaken about that. Yeah, there was a lot of ash and gas, and the people that were living close by didn't take it seriously. And I think one of the reasons is because there had been no recent activity while they had been living there, and so trying to accept the idea that the rumblings were indicators of the thing blowing its stack. I think that caught them off guard. But as you know, the same thing happened in Pinatubo. The same thing. They had warned people. They were getting some ash. They were getting rumblings, and they were getting, you know, how they measure the gases and things like that as warning signs, and they warned the people. But people they've lived there for generations. So how are you going to come to them and convince them that they have to move out of harm's way? Yeah, I think that. Well, that's a good question, Dodger Blue. If I think that I might start a business or a hobby there to occupy my time or just enjoy the downtime. Well, it's sort of a mixed bag on that. The answer to that question, because my my wife is young, and she likes she likes making a living. And so I think that's something that we'll be talking about down the road. But me, I'm just I have the travel bug still. And so I know there are a lot of restrictions, and so maybe traveling around the Philippines it won't be on the agenda when we first get there. But traveling other places to countries that will allow travelers in with not too much of a headache is probably what I'll be doing. I'll probably, I would really enjoy taking Minnie around, my wife, and showing her some of the places I visited, and explaining to her some of the reasons why I really have enjoyed touring around those places. But yeah, hey, plug yourself into your hobbies. Yeah, but and if you're able to transition smoothly, because you got stuff to do, it's all the better. Because I have known people who have retired and they have nothing planned, and it shocked their system, that they weren't able to transition so smoothly into retirement because they didn't have a plan of what they were going to what they were going to do after they retired. And I think you need one. I think honestly, I think you need to have a plan of what you're going to be doing in retirement, because for a lot of us, especially here in the West, what we do for a living is our identity, and the people we work with, they're like our second family, right? Because we're oftentimes we're spending more time with them than we are our own family. And so your identity is washed away because you're generally you're identified by the occupation. And so anyway, that can be difficult for most people. I would share a story about a teacher friend of mine who retired and went to bed, and unfortunately he never left that bed. We tried to help him out. He realized how dedicated he was to that environment, to that teaching environment, and he wasn't able to overcome it so well once he retired. He tried substitute teaching and doing a few things, and it wasn't satisfying. It just wasn't something that he wanted to continue to do. He thought that would fill the void, but then he just unfortunately ended up retiring permanently, because he fell in a state of depression, things like that. So I know how important that is to have hobbies, but enjoying a week or two of no responsibility and transitioning over, it's fantastic, Well, yeah, there was lots of ash and gas, and I heard that a lot of people died from the poisonous gases, but I'm not sure. I don't have any factoids on that. I'm just, parroting, I guess, what I've read here and there in the media. And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong about things. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like a fantastic life. I really like that part of the world, by the way. If my wife lived there, if she were from there, that's probably where I'd be living. I'd be living somewhere close to that region, close to CDO. I have friends that are there, that are from there, that live here in Sacramento. And I've been to Davao and Small Island and those other things. And I really like it. You can see the difference in the area when compared to other parts of the Philippines, infrastructure and that type of thing. Tagum City, I have a friend who lives here who has a house. Is it Tagum or Tagum City? And as you know, that almost looks like a planned city, a planned adventure. I mean, it seems like they have very good city planning going on there, and so I would consider, living in Mindanao, in CDO or Davao or Tagum City, if it weren't for the fact that my wife is from Bye Bye City, and I feel comfortable with the fact that she's comfortable in her environment. I mean, my wife, she's very street smart, especially when it comes to, she's a very street smart woman, let's put it that way. And so when she said, no, we should be living in an area that I'm familiar with, and that way I can navigate it. And that kind of like makes sense to me. Yeah, because there are millions of places that I've never seen, that I haven't seen. I mean, I like a lot of regions, in the Philippines. And Pangasinan is one. Have you been to Pangasinan? I love Pangasinan. I don't know what calls me to it. Maybe you can help me. Maybe you can help me understand why I like Pangasinan so much. And I like Baguio City, but I'm afraid of it. I like Baguio, but I was a little bit afraid of it, because it's earthquake prone, as you know. I mean, when the earthquake is going to hit there, it's going to wipe it out. I mean, it is going to cause it a huge earthquake there, like a 6 or 7. That's what makes me nervous about Baguio City only having one way out, one way in, one way out, 2 ways in, 2 ways out, something like that. And I figured that everybody will be trying to get out of there at the same time, and the only way out is going to be walking. It's going to be by using your feet. Yes, and why not keep a home in two places? Hey, better yet, we'll split a house with you, and then we'll go. We'll live halfway there where you're up here, and where you're up there, we'll be down there. And we'll just change it up. Yeah, that never works out though, because everybody always wants to be in the house in Leyte or the one in that. You should, maybe you are that mobile. Maybe you are together like that, because I'm with you. I see. So my video, I'm not sure my audio. So, oh, okay. Is that what's going on there? See, I didn't know that. Earthquake Central. So you're getting hit by a lot of earthquakes there. Yeah. The thing that, like I said, the thing that impresses me about it, of course, is infrastructure. It's kind of like they decide to build a city. They're looking around. Where do we build the next city? I know, there. We got nice flat land, easy to build on. We can build the most modern city. Yeah. Oh. By the way, speaking of modern cities, I also like that Makati area. And what's the I like Makati when you're talking that Manila area, and I also like Newtown when you're talking Cebu. See, I think here's what's going to happen. Once my wife gets a taste of that city life, she'll love it. That's what I'm thinking. Because I mean, you can't afford to live that kind of a life here in a place like California. I mean, a place like Century City, Los Angeles, what would an apartment go for in Century City? Versus a place like Makati or the financial district of Manila, or San Francisco. Try comparing San Francisco. All right, work is ready for you. Okay, hey, you have a nice rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining us. We truly appreciate it, you being here. That's for sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. I like Ormoc. Okay, Ormoc is also a possibility. The main thing is, I mean, ideally, you'd want to have a place in Leyte, in Bye Bye City, where your wife's from. But this because of my training, you know, um, you'd also want to have a place near a hospital. I figure if you spent half the time there and half the time in the province, you have a 50% chance of being in the city near private medical care. You know, 50% of the time when you needed it the most, you probably would be there. And so, in one of Geo's vlogs, one of his videos, he was saying that I was telling him what the plan was. Saying, yeah, leave. This made me laugh. What makes me laugh now? He was saying, go ahead and he said, spend the time in Leyte during the summer. When it hits rainy season, then you come to Cebu, Newtown, where it's safer, right? That was the idea in the beginning, and then of course Odette changes the whole thing. Oh well, no place is safe. That no place is without something that's going to hit it: volcano, earthquake, typhoon, or some other calamity, right? So but still living in the city makes a whole lot of sense, for half the time. And of course, as you know, you've got great medical care in that rivals the best anywhere to be found in the Philippines, there in your region. You know this. And so, it's an appealing idea. It's a very appealing idea. If I could keep 2 or 3 places, I could do that, but I'm not rich. Oh, hey, here's the other thing. I'm not poor either. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not rich, I'm not poor. And I don't know what those first pension checks are going to look like until they hit the bank. I don't know what my spendable cash is going to be. Yeah, and so the point I was going to make is Ormoc uh, would be an okay spot because you've got the fast ferry. And so if you need to jump on it to head over to Cebu, what is that? A 2-hour fast ferry ride, something like that? The overnight ferry used to come into Bye-Bye, but it no longer is making a stop there. The overnight ferry or the afternoon, what would you leave? Oh yeah, it's the overnight. So you'd leave at 10 p.m. and then you could be in Cebu by 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I thought that was beautiful, because you can sleep or rest or do whatever you want while you were headed over there. So maybe you can rent one of the rooms and then sleep, have a comfortable night's sleep, and then be ready to go in the morning. And so I did it a couple of times. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But now that it doesn't service Bye-Bye because of Odette. What? You're saying it has what? This is news to me. I didn't know it had a fast cat. Nobody has told me that. I have asked and asked, and people aren't. They said no, no, no. We don't. You have to go to Ormoc to get the super cat. So I mean, I always thought it was crazy that they didn't have something coming into Bye-Bye. I hate that drive. I hate that drive coming in from Ormoc. I'd rather live in Ormoc, quite frankly, because I can't. For some reason, that drive gets to me, that one that from Ormoc to Bye-Bye City. But anyway, or I'd rather live in Bye-Bye if it had a fast cat. I mean, if it has a fast ferry, oh, that puts a great big smile on my face. Definitely. Oh yeah, when you tried to get back, yeah, everybody was heading for the hills. They were heading all over the place trying to get out. You mean when you were coming back from Cebu or someplace, or when you're coming back to CDO? Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure. People were trying to escape. You saw how many. We had a few vloggers, right, that bailed out of Cebu and they were headed down to Davao. Because they had to get out of there because they needed infrastructure. I understand it. A couple of the latest videos that we've seen are showing that Cebu, they're cleaning it up pretty quickly and putting everything back together. So I think that's fantastic. But yeah, it's good to know. I'm going to check that out. If the fast ferry is there in Bye-Bye, well, that gives me a lot of comfort. Okay, now you got me. I don't know what the row yo is. So I'm not sure what that is. So, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if a lot of private companies were going to take advantage if they can get the permits to go into Bye-Bye to provide service. That would be great. As a matter of fact, what I always thought would be a good idea would be even if you brought a boat into Bye-Bye and you made the ferry run to Ormoc, that would be a good deal. It would be better than going to the transportation center and grabbing a bus or a van that's headed to Ormoc. I just for some reason I don't get that much enjoyment out of that ride. I'm not sure exactly why. Unless the roads have improved. My wife is telling me that road has improved a lot that's going between the two. Oh yeah, I imagine so. I imagine so. All the hotels were booked, even the Novo, and what's there? There's like 3 or 4 hotels there now. Yeah. Oh, okay. That comes under bye-bye? Hmm. The one that used to service it, yeah, I believe that's the one that I took to Cebu. I believe it was I can't remember the name of it. Come to think of it, I can't remember the name of the ship. But on somebody's video, I saw that ship that used to service the overnight ferry. I saw that ship moored in Ormoc. So apparently they moved, and so they still have service, but it's from the overnight still has service, but it's from Ormoc now. I haven't seen it in Bye Bye Leyte. Hey, how's it going, Randall? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate you very, very much. Yeah, I've been chatting here, just chatting with the folks, stirring it up a little bit. Started talking about Medicare and stuff like that. Now we're talking about other stuff, but again, just I'm back to what a dilemma it is, the whole medical thing. But my bottom line point is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. They have the medical care there. You seek it out, figure out what insurance works best for you, and you go with it. You roll with it. Here, if you stay here in the States, what's going to happen is, one of the things is for sure, you're going to become a slave to the medical programs that they have here. Although there are changes happening around, there are changes happening. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that must have been, yeah, I gotcha. Then Cebu to Bye Bye. Okay, I gotcha. Well, that's good news. That's good news that there's transportation. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, especially if you're going Bye Bye to Cebu, you know. But like I said, hey, I could end up getting an apartment in Ormoc as a secondary spot, as opposed to Cebu, and then just make that run across the water when you need to go access medical care or whatever you need. Oh, okay, that sounds good. I will contact you and give you my private email. So the other thing is, I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I'm going to share this. Correct me on anything that I'm saying here. I need to be corrected. All right. So I went looking and found that Kaiser is in the Philippines. They've been there since 2018, and so they have a different corporate structure in the Philippines, but the premise behind it, the way they operate, is pretty much the same. It's an HMO, and it's a subsidiary of the larger Kaiser Permanente, if I'm not mistaken. They've set up a different corporate structure there in the Philippines and done everything that they have to do. From what I understand, Kaiser operates as an HMO. And so I'm also going to be looking at Kaiser, and I'll be presenting all the information either in a live stream or a video as to how that works. So an HMO is a little bit user friendly for a guy like me, because I like to just I don't want to have to think about, I have to go and source a different doctor for every different ailment. Here, as the primary care physician or a PA or somebody acts like a traffic cop, and they will requisition or recommend referrals out to the specialists. But I'd rather operate in the Philippines. You just kind of show up, and then if they have time to see you, they see you. And if you have a rapport with a certain doctor, you could request that doctor if you're comfortable with that doctor. And so, but I find the HMO environment a little bit more attractive as far as an approach for medical care, and if it's available in the Philippines. Of course, they have HMOs in the Philippines, you know, but they're it's a fragmented system, and it's fairly recent. In other words, they're putting HMOs together because you have a lot of expats, and they're trying to develop a medical tourism industry in the Philippines, and there's a lot of moving parts. So they're trying to slap it together. Of course, you have things like Odette and the virus that are interfering with the plans, with the long distance plans, of putting these things together. Yeah, so I mean, if you don't know that this is going on in the Philippines, I think most of you may start researching it, start reading. You're going to find all this neat stuff that's going on in the Philippines as far as medical care goes. And the premiums for the HMO at Kaiser, when I looked at it, was decent. I mean, very, very appealing. And so way more appealing than buying the private insurance and then following their guidelines for visiting their providers. Oh, something I ran into recently that I wanted to mention was, so I thought that I had dialed this insurance in. I thought that I had a plan, but when I started looking at the international coverage for it, I got disappointed because you can't really. It turns out to be accident travel insurance once you leave the Philippines. They'll cover you almost like most insurance companies for a certain period of time when you're visiting a different country, but you can't go there for the specific purpose of seeking out medical care. So what I'm looking for is a policy that's a blanket policy that will work in all of Southeast Asia for a reasonable premium fee. And I was unable to find that. I'm on so far. Oh, no, you can find it, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. I'm unable to find it for a reasonable price, and so I thought I'd go to a Filipino-based company and search it out. The ones that offer it, the most comprehensive, but you're going to pay for it, is Cigna and Aetna Health, and quite possibly Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Blue Shield International. But they're expensive, but yet they're expensive on one side of the thing, and then not so expensive on the other side when you're looking at what they're going to deliver in terms of levels of care. So you do get what you pay for, I'm convinced, especially when you're talking about health insurance. But hey, do take a look at that if you're interested. I'll be doing, as I make my way around, both doing the paperwork for getting into the Philippines and then the healthcare issue. I'll be giving a lot more information about that, what I did, how I did it. More of a step-by-step approach might come into play here. Yeah, as I was saying, they're big, big money. And so there's got to be a happy place. There's got to be a happy place, where you would buy, let's say if I were traveling in Thailand, I would have Thai private health insurance. And then when I'm in the Philippines, I would have a peso plan, where I would just access. So it might be that I have to put two plans together or something like that in order to make or a plan that covers you when you're in Southeast Asia, but not the Philippines, or, when you're in, or it might be a matter of just buying comprehensive health insurance when you're traveling to a country where you're protected for the short period of time that you're in those countries, something like that. A step up above regular travel health insurance, I guess what I'm saying is more comprehensive coverage. something like that. Yeah, if you're going to go with, in my case, if I were going to go with Aetna or Cigna or something like that, where they would cover me, even in the United States, as well as any other country in Southeast Asia, anywhere in the world, as a matter of fact, with the exception of a few countries which they identify. I don't think they'll let you spend the money in an expensive country, you know, like Japan or Singapore or Malaysia. I'd have to check that out. But you're going to pay anywhere from $700 to the sky's the limit on health insurance if I wanted to get that kind of a comprehensive program going. So I think, but you know, I'm kind of like in the two or three. I'm like most people, you know. I'm going to be kind of somewhere in the $200 or $300 bracket. Yeah, I'm going to be in that range, and so you have to put something together that works for you, and on top of self-insuring and having an emergency fund. Those come into play, you know, because the deductible on some of those plans, they're pretty high also, and so you have to do the math, figure out what works best for you. All right. Well, anyway, we'll be moving forward and getting all that information together for you. And I really appreciate everybody showing up for the live, getting the hang of it a little bit better. And I hope if you haven't subscribed to my channel, that you'll take the opportunity to subscribe. And we will see you in the next live stream. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.